Welcome to Tech Transformation with CGT and RIS News, where we explore the innovative tech strategies and trends in retail and consumer goods. I'm Lisa Johnson, Senior Editor at CGT. In this episode, I'm really excited to be speaking with Nicole Nelson, most recently SVP of Decision Science, Data Science, and Machine Learning at Best Buy. Now, Nicole is here to talk about transformation, both technology transformation and analytics transformation, how they're different, how they're the same, and some lessons for successful transformations at retail. Now, Nicole is also the keynote speaker at Analytics Unite, the 3-day summit produced by RIS and CGT for retailers and consumer goods executives. We're live back at the Drake Hotel in Chicago, June 21st through June 23rd. And so Nicole is here to give us a little bit of a sneak peek about what she's going to talk about. So Nicole, welcome. I'm really excited to have you here on Tech Transformation. Can you get us started by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. And it's such a pleasure to be here and talk to this audience. So thank you for the invite. So most relevant to your group, I have spent 25 years in retail. I was at Target and then most recently at Best Buy. I have spent time in merchandising, pricing, e-commerce, what's now known as product ownership. But spent about half of my career building analytics teams, putting analytics and data science teams into retail processes and enterprise transformations. As you mentioned, I was most recently at Best Buy, where I had all of the enterprise teams around data science, machine learning, and decision science, and recently left to start my own business focusing on data science leadership and transformations.
Okay. Well, perfect. So let's talk about transformations. Obviously, you're an ideal guest to have on this show. So let's talk about tech transformations and analytics transformations. You've been involved in both. So can you talk a little bit about how they're similar and how they're different?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things that I think that tech transformations and data science or analytics transformations share is we call them a transformation, but there's actually a big transformation as well as a vertical transformation and then small transformations. And so what I mean by that is a company may decide in general, we are going to become more data driven. That's the big transformation. At the same time, they often are bringing teams together. So that whole data science team is going to be putting in their own transformation. And then every single product or business process that you're changing is its own mini transformation. So there's a lot of complexity in managing these different levels of transformations and the different areas and stakeholders. So that's one big similarity. The second, especially when I think about successful transformations, is they need to be rooted in the corporate strategy or what the corporation is trying to do. I can talk about this a bit later, but because data science and technology transformations can be seen as technical, they can be sort of put apart and on the side. And those that are successful really integrate into the enterprise planning and what they're trying to accomplish. And the last one is because these transformations tend to involve very technical people, we emphasize the what on the transformation. We think about exactly the process and the task, and we underemphasize the human and the how. And so I think both types of transformation sort of share that bias.
And some would probably say that's the most important part. So how can the technology and data science teams work more closely together?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite diagram is a Venn diagram that sort of puts a circle of operational or business teams, a circle of technology teams, and a circle of data science teams sort of together where they overlap individually, but there's also this magical middle where business teams, technology teams, and data science are working to really transform the way that things are done. So at a minimum, technology transformations and data science transformations should consider the other team a key enabler. I don't think anyone in this call is going to be surprised when you say for a data science transformation, you have to have your technology team involved. Your technology team is going to help you get flexibility. They're going to help get the tools and the speed. And all of the data that my teams consumed was often created by technology. And so the connection between those teams is incredibly important. And that alliance can also bring, a lot of synergies and partnership. On the technology side, I think data science is probably underused as an enabler. Data science can really help those transformations see where it's going, where it is being effective. They can help find efficiencies with machine learning that actually sort of free up resources and let things shift in a way that isn't painful. And then finally, data science can help us see the things, hotspots or whatnot, that we don't know. One of my favorite tools is data science that is going in the background of a website and is alerting a team when a page is all of a sudden not getting as many hits or as many conversions. Again, that would be a lot of work for somebody to be watching all the time. But the fact that the data science can run in the background and sort of highlight up where we should be looking, I think is unused in transformations and really could be taken advantage of more.
Okay. So these are some great lessons you're providing. You had a recent LinkedIn post that I want to talk about with some more great lessons. You offered 6 lessons on successful data transformations. It's a really fantastic post. I'm not going to read it here, but I'd encourage everyone who's listening or watching to connect with Nicole in it so they can give it a look. But I'd like to dig into a few points. And so one of your points for successful data transformation was to find the sideliners. So this isn't a group that we often hear about. Let's talk first. What is a sideliner and how do you know one when you see one?
Sideliners is one of my favorite groups. So what a sideliner is a very influential person in the organization who has decided that they are going to wait to see whether you are successful or not before they sort of put their hat in the ring. You can recognize them in a couple different ways. One, they will be vocal about, I support, I think it's important, but it's really not backed up by anything. The other thing you'll notice that in meetings, they won't say much, right? Other people will be talking and they'll just sort of be sitting back. So that's who they are and how to recognize them. I can tell you a very, honest favorite story I have in this last transformation at Best Buy, right? We had brought all the teams together and we're starting to sort of build that enterprise view. And there was one particular stakeholder who there was a conversation about whether parts of his team should join or not. And so I ended up on a very late phone call with him. And he said to me, Nicole, it's great what I think you're doing. I just don't think that there's much in my area that really, I'm here, but, I don't think there's that much. And so what I said back to him is I said, look, you are one of the most important people in this org. If you don't believe or think there's value in what we're doing, this is a problem. I really need to understand why. Because, frankly, if you aren't bought in, we got to go find a way or someone else, and I even offered we should go get someone who are bought in. I think that level of sort of honesty surprised him.
Being very candid.
Yeah, but it did give us this conversation where all of a sudden he did open up with what he was concerned about and sort of said things that had never been said before. So it was a scary conversation to have, but I honestly, we'll talk about why they're useful. The things that nobody says in a meeting room, a sideliner might tell you one-on-one. The other thing about sideliners is when you think about detractors and supporters, it takes a lot less energy to move a sideliner to a supporter than a detractor to a supporter.
I want to talk about Analytics Unite. For anyone who's not familiar with the event, it's being held June 21st to June 23rd. We are live at the Drake Hotel, back at the Drake in Chicago. And so, Nicole, you're our keynote speaker. You are going to be presenting under our event theme of accelerating growth, talent, and innovation. So first, is this going to be your first year at Analytics Unite?
I think it is my first time. I'm not totally sure because I've been to other RAS conferences, but yes, I think it is going to be my first time.
Yes, it did used to be held under the name of RCAS, the Retail and Consumer Goods Analytics Study. So it is possible you were there. I will say this will be my first time live. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years now, and we've been doing them remote for the past few years. So I'm really excited to get to meet all of our audience live in person. So can you give us just a little bit of a sneak peek about what you're going to talk about for your keynote?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is the theme: accelerate growth, accelerate talent, and accelerate innovation. So what I'm going to be talking about is one. So I got to bring an enterprise team together in the pandemic at clearly one of the most dynamic times for retail. So it's going to be a bit about what I learned during that process. But also about one of the smartest and difference makers we made, which is getting analytics into strategic planning. Like literally, every meeting with that executive team and sort of flipping analytics and data science just from measurement and sort of operational to truly a strategic function. So I'll be talking a bit about that and how that changed what we did in stores and our pandemic, and then other tips and tricks on talent, since it's an extraordinarily difficult environment out there, and my thoughts on innovation.
So the event brings together retail and consumer goods executives for 3 days of the opportunity to network with and learn from leading analytic minds. So what are you looking forward to most to doing or learning at the show?
Yeah, probably like a lot of people, I'm really looking forward to being back in person and seeing people live. The other thing I always take away from these conferences is that nobody has it all together, and it is always use. I mean, literally, like I've sat next to executives at Google talking to me about their data, and you think in your head, well, wait a minute, if you don't have this figured out, so it is so refreshing, and there is so much learning in just sitting with other people who have your similar job in different industries and look at things and just talk about the reality and what worked and what didn't. So it's an incredible chance to kind of learn from others and really just share.
Great. So we have some closing questions that we're going to run through a little quickly. They're all under the event theme, Analytics Unite theme of accelerating growth, talent, and innovation. So there's 3 of them. So number 1, what is your favorite innovative product that you've been using recently?
Yeah, so I have a treadmill with the new iFit, which is like the adjustable. So I've recently learned it's got Smart Adjust to hook it up to a heart rate monitor. So the difficulty of the workout will actually change based on my heart rate. And I have found it as an incredible way to keep myself from being lazy and challenging myself and going faster than I would have naturally. So I just love the combination of sort of function, data science, and pushing myself by combining the 2 products together.
I'm going to guess, having spent the many years at Best Buy, your house is probably filled with some really great consumer technology.
Absolutely.
Okay, so number 2, if you could accelerate one part of your life, what would it be?
I decided to go very honest with this one. I have a 15-year-old son that we are teaching to drive. And so if I could accelerate that process, I think that would be the most delightful thing in my life.
I also have a 15-year-old son, and we're not there yet. And yeah. So that sounds like a great answer.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so 3rd and final question. Where is one area of growth that you would like to improve?
Yeah. I was going to say it is funny because it's probably related to that performance review I saw 10 years ago. I think patience and pacing is still something I am working on. I am super curious and excited about a lot of different things, and think my team would tell you, always thinking like we can do more and more and more, and so reining my own expectations in and focusing on a few things and really moving the bar far and saying, I got time. I can get to those other interesting things later, is something I'm still working on.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. Thank you for joining Analytics Unite. Really looking forward to meeting you in person and watching your speech. I encourage anyone who's listening or watching, visit analyticsunite.com to learn more about the show and to register. For now, thank you, Nicole, for joining.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to be here. And I'm just excited that you guys have put the podcast on transformations because it really is such an important part of both worlds.
Well, hopefully we can do a follow-up episode sometime in the near future.
Sounds good.